I appreciate everybody coming out. I'm Eric Boyle, building principal here at Stilwell. We're going to try to stay within our time frame for once. We seem to run long, so I'm going to try to be quick and to the point. That way Mr. Johnson can be long-winded. Just joking. We do appreciate everybody being here. I believe everybody now has a course selection sheet. Mr. Johnson was in science classes the last few days, so hopefully you have that with you. You don't have to have it with you, but your child should have it with them at home if you don't have it. So here are the goals for tonight. We want you to understand registration process, have an understanding of the courses that are available in 8th grade year. Talk about electives, we'll give a little overview of advanced courses, and for those who want to stick around for a little overview of New Tech, we'll do that as well. Ms. G will talk about extracurricular activities because that's something new as we get into 8th grade. We start having athletics and a few other opportunities after school. And then we'll talk a little bit about how we can partner to hopefully make 8th grade a successful year. So, like I said, I'm Eric Boyle, building principal. Miss G is right here. Sarah Cooper, one of our counselors, and Mr. Johnson, our other counselor. The four of us will give you everything you need to know about next year, and then you'll leave here, and in about 2 months you'll be like, what were they saying? And then you contact us, and we'll give you any information maybe that slipped your mind from now until then. So like I was saying, Mr. Johnson was in science classes the last few days, going over this similar presentation of what courses are available, what are the requirements they got to have, and just so they have a pretty good overview of electives available to them. You have it now or it's at home. They're due back to us. Or on the 31st, we shared Tiger Time. So I have an 8th grade Tiger Time currently. Mr. Wong is just down the hall from me, so he brought his students down to my Tiger Time. And my students shared a little bit more in depth about what the 8th grade electives were all about. What to expect with art, tech ed, GTT, drama, so on and so forth. So kids got an overview from their peers about what the electives are that are available to them. Forms are due to us February 17th. So you've got a little bit of time to sit down and talk with your child about what they hope to take next year and then get it returned to us. Advanced courses. And what I would say about advanced courses is, for the most part, the curriculum is very similar. The standards are the same. Our advanced classes are going to go more depth at a much quicker rate and probably much more rigorous. What I want to highlight tonight in regards to advanced classes is we did do it differently than in years past. That sheet was stapled to the course selection form. And I'm just going to highlight the fact that normally we would be taking 8th grade assessment scores and using those along with GPA and current grade in either the class they're in to get into the advanced placement for 8th grade. But this year we don't have assessment scores because we haven't taken them yet. We don't take them till the end of March and beginning of April. So we'll be using 7th grade assessment score. We'll also be using 7th grade cut score plus GPA plus current grade, plus if we feel there are other data we need to pull in, we'll pull in a variety of other sources and talk to teachers to try to make sure we get everybody in the right place they need to be successful moving into 8th grade. It's not ideal. We just, with our assessment scores moving from fall to spring and being so far late in the spring, this is the best we have available to us right now. So for language arts, you see you got to have a 278 in reading and a 302 in written expression, plus GPA, plus grade. Any questions on, yes?
So, are you looking at 6th grade? Yeah.
So, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a, I think that's That might be off. That's from last year, I think.
Yeah, I took it from Mr. Christensen. You're right. Thank you for correcting me. It'll be 6th grade because 8th grade will be using 7th grade. So we'll be using 6th grade cut scores and 6th grade assessments.
So
So,
the 2015 assessments.
yep.
Yeah. The scores on the back of that sheet will be correct. The scores that they list on there are accurate for what we're looking at.
So to clarify, we're using, since we don't have them this year, we'll be using 2015, and it'll be the cut score and their assessment score.
Do you
So,
want to tell people where they can find that?
yep, it'll be in, you can go to Infinite Campus, and you'll be able to pull up their assessment scores, and it'll have all previous assessment scores available. If you have questions, you can contact me or any of the other 3 administrators or counselors. Science would be the same. We'll use 6th grade assessment score, GPA, and their grade. Same for social studies, and this one does reading, social studies, for their cut scores, and then math is the only one that's unique because it depends upon what they're in currently. So if they're in pre-algebra right now, they'll go into algebra. If they're in 7th grade math, they'll go into pre-algebra. And if they're in integrated, they'll go into integrated. So those are already, for the most part, predetermined given the course they're currently taking as a 7th grader. Now, algebra, yes?
Can you, I've never heard of cut scores. What does that mean?
So, since this is wrong, but I'll use it as an example. When you look up here and it says 7th grade Iowa assessment national standard score of 283. So in years past, in order to get into advanced placement, we would have taken the fall assessment score. Let's say you scored a 290 in social studies and a 301 in reading. The cut scores, you're above them both. So those are 2 criteria that we use to get into advanced placement, plus GPA, plus your current grade in that class. And so if you have, yes?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're all right.
I'm ready for another one.
Go ahead.
I'm just wondering, are all the advanced courses traditional classes, or are there advanced NTN?
There's both.
Okay.
There's both.
And then I have one other question. What math class is after Algebra C?
So after Algebra C goes geometry. So I'll come back to that in a second. So when I say cut scores, if you look at your, when you go home tonight or if you have it with you and it has the advanced placement sheet with you, it'll tell you what those cut scores are in regards to getting into advanced placement.
You just mean cut by your cutoff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and what I'll be flat honest with you, this is one of the things when I say we, me and Mr. Christensen are really working on, is we struggle with saying that just an assessment score should be one of our main criteria for getting in advanced placement, because on a given day may not be your best day, and it doesn't, that's one snippet of who you are as a student. So we're working on trying to add to what we see for data points. So we're trying to open doors and give kids as many opportunities to get into more challenging coursework if they so choose. Does that answer your question? Okay. So to get to math, one thing I do want to point out about algebra is it's a credited class. So in years past, up until last year, if you took algebra, you got to December and decided, I just want to take this as an 8th grade class, I don't want high school credit, you had that option of opting out. You no longer have that, so if you're taking algebra, you will start your high school transcript next year as an 8th grade. And so the question of what do you take after Algebra C is geometry, and we're in the process right now, I'll be honest with you, on deciding where that's at. For the last few years, Stilwell students have traveled to Indian Hills, and we have a teacher over there teaching geometry, but that may be changing. Our numbers are, we have far more students who will be signing up for geometry next year than Indian Hills. They only have 2. So we're looking at options of keeping it here and having 2 students transition to us. Any other questions? Yes?
What does algebra C translate to, like algebra 1 and 2?
It's algebra 1. Yep. So then you go into geometry, and then algebra 2 trig, which is at Valley. All right, Mr. Johnson's going to take you through our electives.
All right, so this is just a snapshot of the form that you probably have in front of you, or that your student has brought home. I was just talking to the 4 of us here. This will be the 16th time I've talked about this in the last 3 or 4 days, because as Mr. Boyle said, I went through all of the science classes for all 3 teams. So there's 5 classes on each team, so 15 of them, and so I've done it a few times. But the main purpose of why I wanted to do it that way, or why we've chosen to do it that way, is because I wanted the kids to have an opportunity to really ask questions and really get an idea of how this all works, because it is quite a bit different than what 7th grade is, in that there's a few more choices with it. And a big thing is that you have some electives, that in 8th grade that now meet every day rather than every other day. Now, in 7th grade, all of the electives that they take are every other day classes. They're music classes. They have the option of Spanish to meet every other day. If they're in support classes, they meet every other day. Now, those same classes are offered in 8th grade, but a few changes are going to happen, especially with the Spanish, as far as how often it meets. And that affects how we fill out this form here. So that was a big part of our discussion. So if you look at line 5, a big thing I told the students, if they are in any support classes, and that includes ELP, math resource, reading resource, learning lab, and special ed classes, they were written into the form already. So if you got the form home and you saw that written in there, that was written by us in there, just so that they know, okay, these are what they're in now. Now, I'm not, things could happen where they're not in those classes next year, but we just want to make sure that they know that, all right, that's in there now, and if you want to add electives, just realize that's in there, so they don't add too many electives, and then we have to say, oh, you got to back off because you have these other classes that you're taking. But we put those in there, and I think when we put them in there, we just put them in for first semester. My intern helped out with that. He just put them in for first semester. If you can, put them in for second semester too, because that way you get a full glimpse of it. He just wrote them in there, that first one, which I just wanted to mainly have them see it. But it's good to put it in for both semesters, unless there's a plan to possibly change later on. But so line 5, if they didn't have anything written in there, ultimately they had 2 choices of what they could put in there. They could either put in a music class, so chorus, band, or orchestra, which Ms. Cooper will talk about here in a little bit, or they can put in a study hall. And that's really the only options that we have, unless they're in one of those support classes. Because that's in 8th grade, those are the only classes that meet every other day. And so, I had students fill out, okay, if you're in if you're in chorus or band or orchestra, you can put it in line 5 there. If not, then you put it in line, you put in the study hall. Now, immediately the kids ask, well, what if I'm in band and chorus, or band, chorus, and orchestra? What do I do then? Well, what I had them do was they put one of the musics in line 5, and then if they want to do another music, that would have to go down to line 6. So if they have chorus in line 5, they put band down in line 6, and then they'd either alternate that with a study hall or with if they're in orchestra. But ultimately they only have a few options there for those classes. So the every other day classes aren't as common in 8th grade as they are in 7th grade. And so we're kind of moving on to more full-term classes and more what we call academic electives for them to pick, which are meeting every day and count as full classes. So that leads us to, our curriculum here. As Mr. Boyle talked about, we have the advanced options for all those different subject areas there. but they're still going to be taking them either advanced or regular for all those. So you'll see that on your registration form that there's already really 4.5 slots that are filled out with math, language arts, social studies, and English. Now it doesn't mean that they're going to go in necessarily that order with their schedule, but we want them to know, okay, those are in those spots. And then physical education meets every other day, which is where we saw in line 5 where they can do an alternating class with that. So just want to make sure you know most of their schedule again is kind of set for them, but again they're going to have a little bit more option as far as electives for this coming year. Okay, so here are our choices for electives, and you'll see this at the bottom of your sheet there, of your green packet. You'll see the list of all the options that they have. And they're listed up there. We're going to go through each of these in pretty good detail here. But if you have any questions or if you're wondering any more about what's involved there, in that packet there's a description of each of these classes in there. So if you're kind of wondering, if you leave this meeting and you're like, well, I can't remember what they said about art or about drama, look in the packet and there's a description of each of those classes in there. So I'll just kind of briefly cover them. And like Mr. Boyle said, I think that when the 8th graders met with the 7th graders, they probably told them a lot more than what I could tell them when I met with them, because they're in the class, they're experiencing it, and here I'm kind of giving them the basics. So they knew a lot of the stuff already about what to kind of expect, how the class is set up and stuff like that. So these are our electives. I'll kind of go through and talk about